Fellow Democrats, we are here to nominate a president. And I've got one in mind. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what's a movie tradesman doing out here? You know, they're all left-wingers out there, left of Lenin. At least that's what people think, but that's not really the case. There's a lot of conservative people, a lot of moderate people, Republicans, Democrats in Hollywood. It's just that conservative people, by the nature of the word itself, play a little more close to the vest.
All right, so those are bits and pieces from the Democratic and Republican national conventions during this past election season. Um, so today we're going to be talking about the political landscape of America, and we're going to focus kind of on the political spectrum. Um, what is a political spectrum, you may ask? All right, well, that is a model used to classify and compare political opinions by plotting them on a geometric axis. You're like, hey, I don't no idea what you just said. Let me break it down for you. Basically, they put points on a line to help figure out where you fall in the political views of this country. The earliest versions of these was one line, one straight line, and it varied from left to right based on change, how you believed in changing things. And this is where you hear that Democrats are left wing and Republicans are right wing because this is um, of this line. So they were either left or right on this line. And so let's look at what we're talking about. All right, so the further right you are on this line, the more conservative you are to be, and the further left you go, the more liberal you tend to be. People way out on there are usually called, you're extremist, you're extreme either way, extreme liberal or extreme conservative. It got way more in depth, and you can look at this chart and you can see, this spectrum here is government power increases, individual freedom. So over here, the higher you are, the more that you want the power of the government to increase. The farther over this way you are, the more you want individual freedom. Okay, and you can see the center here. You can see the conservative going to the right. You can see the liberal going to the left, and then you get to your far left, your socialists, your communists, your Marxists, and then you can get further to your right, your libertarians, and pure individual freedom would be lack of government and anarchy. The Nolan Chart was originally set up by the founder of the Libertarian Party, David Nolan. And this was based on freedom, both personal and economic freedom. Now, these charts will put different parties and philosophies in different places based on how the chart is organized. And so, like, if you look, this one here, personal freedom is this axis, and economic freedom is this axis. So, if you believe in a lot of personal freedom and a lot of economic freedom, you're going to be libertarian. Okay, if you believe in economic freedom but less personal freedom, you're going to be right wing, which be your conservative. If you're going to be, or more like kind of like your Republicanish, you would be left wing if you believe in more personal freedom but less economic freedom, and then less of both would be authoritarian. So it all really depends on how you're basing your chart on where some of these fall, but it gives you an idea to figure out, how do you feel about it? Would you prefer a lot of economic freedom and a lot of personal freedom? Well, then you might fall in the libertarian category. Uh, if you think like personal freedoms, and you might ask, what do you mean by personal freedoms? And this is where we're talking about uh, gay marriage. We're talking about abortion. We're talking about a lot of these things. Uh, does the government have the right to tell us the way to live? Um, and so, if you believe that these personal freedoms should be controlled by the government, but yet you believe in some economic freedom, then this is where you fall. If you believe these personal freedoms are more, you see, so you kind of see how it works there. To the extreme, the United States doesn't have as much variance in its political opinions um, as some countries do. Now, we're talking about large scale. On large scale, a lot of the ideas are pretty close together. When you get to a lot of other countries, there are some extreme sides. And if you go back and look, you have people way up here in a lot of countries and way down here in some of these countries. So, the extreme views, most of America kind of falls in this area here. Um, so, we don't have as much extreme in the political views as these other countries. Here's another chart. And again, this is based on various things. You know, powerful governments. And this uses 4 different axes, and so it sticks things in different places. Um, and you can kind of see, here's your right wing, here's your left wing, small government, individual ownership. Over here, you got common ownership and powerful government, and that's your left wing views. And so uh, you can kind of figure out how you stand on these specific issues and say, okay, well, maybe I believe in a smaller government and I believe in, some individual ownership. Well, then maybe I might be somewhere over here. So you can kind of plot where you go to kind of help figure out how you fall on these scales. All right, liberal versus conservatives, and these are terms that we throw around a lot in the political world. What is a liberal? Again, we've kind of said that's to the left. They believe in freedom and social matters, and these are things that we talked about earlier, such as abortion, uh, gay rights, and a lot of freedom in these areas. That's more liberal. Um, they also believe in large government and government control over businesses, that the government should regulate what businesses can't do, and a lot of economic decisions should all be made by the government, not the marketplace. Um, and this is where you kind of get into, if you take it to the extreme, you get into socialism and so forth, communism. And when we look in economics, or you can go check out the economics video that talks about, these various economic forms of government. And then there's conservative to the right. They believe in some controls in social matters. They're the ones want to outlaw abortion, or want to outlaw gay marriage. So they believe in structure in a lot of these personal issues. Whereas they believe in very limited government control over a lot of things. They believe that the market should regulate itself. That capitalism works if the government backs up out of it. And so there's, kind of like opposites, in each of these areas. And they believe in smaller government. Republicans and Democrats. Now, and this is what we usually associate with liberal and conservative, that Republicans are conservative and Democrats are liberal. The further this country goes along, the closer Republicans and Democrats really are on a lot of issues. A lot of them go mid-road in order to get elected and so forth. Um, but and these parties have changed, and if you go back and look at the histories of the Republican and Democratic parties, they have greatly changed over time. They've kind of flip-flopped at points. And people don't always adhere specifically to a Republican or Democrat. They might consider themselves a Republican, and they might veer over. They call it crossing the aisle, because in Congress, uh, the Republicans are on one side and the Democrats are on the other, and they kind of have to cross the aisle to work together. And so some people don't strictly follow everything the Republicans say do. And with that being said, the Republican Party doesn't strictly follow conservatism. They may be more liberal on certain issues. And the Democrats may not strictly follow liberalism. They might be more conservative on specific issues. Um, so no one is really, just because you choose one of these, uh, you're never really locked in that you have to follow it. Now there are people who, they follow strict party lines. The party says vote this way, that's what they vote. Uh, but it's always best that you question and uh, find what you think is best, and do some research in behind it. And these parties go back to Federalists versus Anti-Federalists. Originally, there weren't supposed to be parties. And these were the first parties. In 1787, the debate of strong central government and states' rights. Um, so, do you have the strong central government, or do you have more power to the states? And this was kind of the first argument, and people chose sides. They were either the Federalists or Anti-Federalists, and some notable people in history, or in our founding of our country, were with both sides. Um, Conservatism has changed since that point, um, and under FDR, strong central government switched from conservatives to liberals. Liberals wanted to add all of the social government programs under the New Deal during the Great Depression, which FDR enacted in order to try to bring the country around out of the Great Depression and everything. There was a lot of switch and increasing of government, and so now the liberals wanted the strong central government versus the conservatives. All right. And after the Civil War, there were liberal Republicans in the North, and there were conservative Democrats in the South, because the South was Democratic and the North was Republican. Um, but you had those Democrats who were more conservative, and so that led to people who, yeah, they were of this party, but they don't follow everything this party says. Presidents like Nixon and Reagan helped convince conservative Democrats that they should be Republican. And so they got a lot of the Democrats who were more conservative to switch over to the Republican side. And Republicans moved right on social issues, so liberal Republicans went more Democrat. So, people kind of can switch. And as time goes on, some of these parties can kind of change depending on where the party leaders are taking it and what they feel best they can do for the country. And sometimes it's just best what they can do to get elected. And if you look, this is the Obama-Romney election in 2012. You can kind of see the red states. And if you ever see this as a red-blue map, the red states are Republican. They went for Romney. And the blue states went for Obama. And you say, man, there's a lot of red. How did Romney lose? And you look at the electoral votes, because the Electoral College decides, and this is something we'll get more into later on, but some of these blue states carry a lot of votes. For example, like California with 55 electoral votes because its population is so high. But they do have common footing. Conservative and liberals do have things in common. They all want clean and safe streets. Now, they might disagree on how best to get clean and safe streets, but they can agree that they want clean and safe streets. Again, strong economy. They agree, man, we all want a strong economy for the United States. But they totally disagree on how best to get there. And other things are more decided on circumstance rather than the way that you lean conservative or liberal. So until next time, deuces.